This is Meredith for Real, the Curious Introvert, and I'm Meredith. Around here, we explore taboo questions and societal blind spots. Each high contrast guest gives you the layered deep dive you crave, not just the Google results making headlines. My mission, and yours if you choose to accept it, is to inspire curiosity by exploring the nuance and paradox of our world. Each episode is different, so bring your ADD and your earbuds and have a look around. In my journey of podcasting since 2019, I have often felt that certain guests should meet one another. And that was the case for the guests in this episode. So when the members of my private Facebook group said that they wanted more mental health episodes this year, I knew that if I could bring everyone together, it would end up being a hilarious, insightful, and memorable episode. And it was, and it is. You're going to hear the real reasons men don't ask for help, what mistakes women are unknowingly making, the problem with strength-based identity, the medicine of community, middle school, and open kimonos. It was so good. I was laughing so hard when listening back to this that tears were streaming down my face. And by the way, if you would like to have an input on future episodes, consider this your official invite to the private Facebook group. You can search MFR Curious Insiders on Facebook or click the link in the show notes to request to join. I really hope I see you in there. And if you end up liking the format of this episode, because it is a little bit different than my other format, you'll also like the one about foot fetishes, which I recorded in a very similar way, and that's episode 274. If you like the topic of mental health, try the mental health playlist on my YouTube channel. All right, friends, keep it curious. Purpose, self-worth, depression, and anxiety. What do all these things have in common? They're all related to men's mental health. At least for the men that I surveyed in my audience, these were repeating themes. But I have a feeling they're not alone. For the many with mental health disorders, men are still less likely to speak up and get treatment. It makes you wonder why, in a world where mental health support has become so normalized, men are still expected to have it all together. My next guests are an ADHD mentor, a blue-collar business owner, a clinical psychologist, and a nonfiction humor writer. They're also podcasters, YouTubers, humorists, and, you guessed it, men. I handpicked these four guests for their wisdom, their wit, and their lived experience, so that together we could tackle a serious topic fairly unseriously and hopefully get you talking as well. Brains and Brotherhood, Anxious but Awesome, Russ Jones, Paul Roberts, Dr. Ali Mattu, and Jon Patrick Hatcher. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Meredith.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having amazing intro. I want to have intros like that. That's amazing.
I know.
I'm available for hire.
Okay. Yeah.
So how weird is it that I'm like super excited to talk about men's mental health? I've been looking forward to this so much.
Well, it affects the women in our lives, that's for sure. And everyone else.
That is true. That is true. Do you think that men's mental health is a manly topic?
It can be.
Do men talk about it amongst themselves?
Well, that's a great question. In terms of like my family and my brothers and stuff, it's not. I have to bring it up. So it tends to be quiet, or at least that's the way I grew up. I don't know if you guys are the same way.
It depends on who you're talking with. I mean, if I'm talking with Ali, yeah, for sure. But if I'm talking with the guy I go surfing with, no, it's not coming up. And I'm not bringing it up because it's going to be awkward silence. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to say it. I'm not bringing it up. I feel like the best I get is stress. Like guys talk about stress. And like my friends talk about mental health more openly with me because I'm a psychologist. But even then, it's not what people are leading with. Maybe they talk about sleep, or maybe they're feeling like I'm really feeling low energy or stress. But that's usually how I get the entry into it.
That's interesting. Paul, what do? Do you guys talk? I feel like you would be someone who would talk about it with your friends for some reason, maybe just because you're very
Most
open.
of the interactions that I have with friends is not sitting down, in the setting that oh man, this week sucked. It was more like, man, this week fucking sucked, man, whatever. And then you bring jokes into it, and then it's, out fishing or golfing or something or hanging out. It's not a serious conversation at all. It's people airing out some of that stuff, but it's in a very joking, let's say manly matter, if you want to put it in that aspect of kind of making light of it, but not really diving into any details or being serious about it. If we were sitting in front of a psychologist talking about it, it wouldn't come out like that.
It would be fascinating to create like a side-by-side video of a woman sharing her problems of mental health with her female friend and a man sharing his problems. And, because like women were like, oh, wow, what really helps me is journaling and a little ayahuasca. And then like guys, yeah, just what you described. In fact, as kind of in preparation for this discussion, I was trying to think back to the men in my family and just try to remember if I ever overheard any of them talking about their mental health to other men. And I had two thoughts come up that I'd love to get your take on. And Paul, I'll start with you and then we'll kind of do round robin on this. But one was, it wasn't about how they felt. It was about what they did. It was action. And for reference, I grew up in Nebraska. And so there's like a strong cultural tie in there. Like it didn't matter how you felt as long as you acted right. And then the second thought that I had was that actually changed when we joined the church. And like the container of the church allowed for a lot of men to feel their feelings, verbally identify them, acknowledge them, work through them. And it provided like this accountability opportunity for them as well. Paul, what are your thoughts on all that?
So for me, I'm not like the other folks in here that are in that arena professionally. Yeah, I don't know why I'm here. I think I'm the case study maybe for this at some part of our
This is an intervention for Paul.
Yes, I'm very
Paul, we need to
self-aware.
talk.
I'm very self-aware. For me, on that aspect of it, when you're talking to your friends, sometimes it's like I'm putting my burdens upon them, and I don't want to be a burden to somebody else. So when we talk about stuff, mine's always in somewhat of a joking manner. I never really get deep into it. But the way that I feel when other folks are talking is that what I get is like you, if it's 2, 3, 4 of your friends and you're kind of talking about that, you get a lot of silence, and that's folks not really knowing how to react to the information that they've got. They want to be empathetic or sympathetic or whatever, but they don't know how to articulate that. So there's some silence, and then, maybe somebody else relates with another story. But from my experiences and me sharing my stuff, it's usually not wanting to put my burdens upon one of my other friends. And then also, you kind of have that, I don't want them to think bad about me. If they know that this is how I feel, maybe they think I'm going to look like a smaller person or whatever.
Russ?
Yeah, this is a really interesting. As I'm thinking back to my childhood, and it's, two brothers, parents, that it was no religion. And I think the concept was like, you fix it yourself. So if I'm feeling something bad, I need to fix it myself. And why would I share something to somebody else and make fixing me their problem? So it was a very isolating, and I'm black sheep in my family. So I want to feel, I want to act, I want to be creative, but no one will listen and I don't want to burden them. I don't even know if that goes along with your question.
That kind of makes sense with the action matters. Like, you got to act right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Jon, what about you?
So it's funny because as everyone was talking, just stuff man. So my dad, I'm adopted, but my dad is a man's man and he thinks I choose anxiety and depression. So he literally said, you only love when you're miserable. And I said, you don't believe that. And he goes, no, I do. And it was super hurtful. This is my dad. Whereas I literally met a guy last week. I was down on the central coast of Morro Bay and I was going surfing, and I met a guy, and he is a helicopter pilot and is grounded because he told the flight surgeon that he's on Prozac, and he's spending thousands of dollars and trying to get, he went off the meds. He's, trying to get his flight status back, and he just completely opened up. And sometimes it's like that. Like, you open your kimono, I'll show you mine. And then, and then the other guy feels more comfortable. And in every instance that it's been like this, whether I lead with it or somebody else, it just opens a floodgate of, yeah, God, you have no idea what I'm going through, But my own father, unfortunately, I cannot talk to about this, because if I say, Dad, I'm having a really rough time, it's either crickets or it's, I'm sorry, and not to take away from the love I have with, for my dad, of course. But there's people that we need to surround ourselves that can embrace that, can be vulnerable, that can be supportive. And, I have a pastor friend that's I'm very close with as well. And he's somebody that I can go to. So I know these are conversations, I can talk with my dad about sports and muscle cars, but I talk to Pastor Dave about vulnerability and empathy and anxiety and suffering. So, sometimes we just have to redirect to those channels where we're going to find that empathy and support and vulnerability. And that's okay. I found it with this guy, Gary, who I knew for 3 minutes. But with my dad, we're going to talk about, the 49ers. So that's okay. I know my dad loves me. So, but it's interesting. I love that you led with this because I didn't plan on talking about that at all. So here we are.
Here we are.
Thank you, Meredith.
Ali, what about you?
I mean, I'm resonating with everything everyone has said. And like 3 things come to mind. And let's see if I can get through this while remembering those 3 things, because that usually isn't the case.
ADHD, baby, kicking into high gear.
All right. So I don't think we arm men with the language or skills they need to share what's going on for them and to get help for it. Like the words to describe the thoughts and feelings that they're having. I don't think we give men the skills to do that. And then I think there are certain places where that happens more naturally, where men can learn that language. It could be religion. It can be through sports. I think sports, especially if you play sports, you learn so much about mental health. You learn so much about trying again, getting up. You're not giving up. Like, let's get feedback. We're stronger together, like how good teams work. I love sports. I also love like superhero, nerdy comic book stuff. And I think there's a lot you can learn from that. So I think there's spaces where you can learn how to talk about this stuff. But I think unless someone makes an effort, and like Jon was saying, unless someone like connects these dots and says, hey, yeah, we can talk about this stuff, I don't think it happens. My dad, and I guess we're going to talk about fathers. So
See, I opened the kimono.
There we go. I will show you
There's
mine.
a lot of open kimonos happening here. I'm uncomfortable.
Men's retreat.
We're just going to leave. I'm just going to leave mine open. Let's see where this goes. My dad, who's still living now, and I'm very grateful there. He only shared with me about 3 years ago, like deep in the pandemic, that my great-grandmother, her husband, my great-grandfather, died very young after having these 2 young boys. And back then, she inherited all the land, and the local people kind of wanted to take her life so that they could get all the land for themselves. And so what she did, like under the cloak of darkness at night, on horseback, hid her 2 sons, dressed up as a man, and escaped to like the village where she was from. So my dad shared this whole story with me, right? She basically saved the lives of my grandfather and my grand uncle, saved the family. And he never shared this story with me until I was like, in my 40s. And I was like, Dad, why didn't you ever tell me this? Like, this is amazing. We've got this like Mulan situation in our family. This is like a hero. And why didn't you ever tell me this story? I could have so used this story as a kid. Like my great grandmother was this badass woman who saved the family, did all this cool stuff. And my dad's like, it's such a sad story to me that this thing happened to her. And what use is there in talking about the past? Let's move forward. Always move forward, move forward. And that is what I kind of learned from my dad. And it took me years and years and years to unlearn that like we can talk about negative stuff. And I had no idea that my dad taught me we don't talk about negative stuff. We don't talk about the past. But that's the lesson I got about what men do. And my wife, like, it took so much work. She's like, you need to express your emotions. I don't know where you're at. Why aren't you telling me this stuff? But it takes a lot of work to learn this. So.
Oh, that's so interesting that you didn't even know that you had learned these things that you had to kind of unlearn. It's so interesting how much we absorb without being like, "Oh, sit down, kids. I got to tell you a lesson today." It's like, yeah. Okay, so here's my follow-up question, Ali, because you mentioned your wife. What do you see us women doing wrong when we're trying to help our partners with their mental health?
Ooh.
I think so many reasons. I have a long list of things my wife
Get
does.
it out, Ollie. Let's go through the whole thing.
You go first.
Hey, I thought the kimonos were open. I mean,
Let me get my ex-wife on the phone. She's going to want to hear this.
I have all these notes full of all of my anger towards my wife. No, my wife's she's amazing. I think that the biggest thing I keep reminding her about how my brain works is when she will say when we're going through a tough time that it's like walking around eggshells around me because she doesn't know like what thing is going to like set me off. And I think that's one of the things about men is we can be very scary when we get upset. We get loud, we get big, and we tend to we get upset and we tend to shut other people down. And I think that's scary for a lot of people. And so she can feel like she's walking on eggshells, and then she has to be really strategic about when she brings up something. But what always happens is it ends up like exploding into like this big conversation about so many different things. So what I always say is like, I don't want to be big and shutting things down. And also like when we get into these arguments, I get overwhelmed. And when I get overwhelmed, I just shut down and I can't think. It's this dance of like her trying to bring up more stuff, but be very focused on it. And me trying to not take it personally and get overwhelmed and stay very focused on like this one thing. The question I find really helpful for me is like, if we had like a good, independent, impartial friend who witnessed this whole conversation, what would they think the whole conflict is about? And I try to focus on that so I don't get overwhelmed.
Oh.
But Meredith, to answer your question, I think like one conflict like escalates into a lot of different things. And I think that just shuts down a lot of men. They just get overwhelmed by it.
I don't know how women would navigate that in a way that's helpful, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the solution is. Okay, so you shut down. I mean, we can't shut down because we've got like a household to run, and then that makes us unhappy. And there is some truth to happy wife, happy life, but being the emotional thermostat for the family is exhausting. So it's like, okay, so maybe following you around the house and insisting you talk to us would be maybe a bad move. But perhaps it's the lesser of two evils.
I'll share one quick thing, and then I want to hear from everyone else. But I'll give you a quick example. My wife the other day asked me something in the middle of dinner time when we're trying to get like the kids fed and also like clean up a bunch of stuff. And I was like, sweetie, this is not, my brain is in like 20 different places. I can't talk to you about this right now. And if I do, it's going to go badly. Like, let's talk about this at X time later tonight when we're chill. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm curious what other people think.
I want to echo that. In my thinking of this is that it's not about what could my spouse do differently to make my life better or something. And I'm coming from the neurodiversity area of like in my world of ADHD and depression. My ex-wife was anxiety, and back then, none of us had skills. None of us had understanding of what we had. So it was always an emotional dysregulation party, And then my kids would be like, you guys were arguing about how to argue, but my thinking is the way that this would work, and I'm not a relationship coach, but how I'm moving forward with my girlfriend is that we understand each other's neurodiversities. Mm-hmm. So I might get dysregulated. She'll know that it's not because I'm mad at her or because something's crazy wrong or something. It's just because I need a minute or two. It's not about her fixing me. It's not about me fixing her. It's about understanding. That's, I think, what my ramble's about.
That's a good ramble. Jon, do you have anything to add to this? Is this ever a topic that you've explored? Oh, is that what? No, I did not.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are putting out stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta think about this.
Shit, I didn't know we were supposed
John's
to be
like,
taking
I gotta
notes.
leave.
I have apologies to make. I have people to apologize.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, I sent my fiance downstairs before we got on this podcast for this reason, so we could talk about them. But Ali was talking about the Mulan thing. I'm laughing because my fiance is actually Russian. She moved here a couple decades ago. So when we have an argument, it's literally almost literally the Cold War, where she will shut down. She's the one that shuts down. And she says, I do it because I have to teach you a lesson. And I'm like, has it worked in 10 years? No. And for women, I think the best piece of advice not that I want to give advice to women, but if I were to, and you invited me to. So unsolicited advice, I guess, is how I'll open that. But literally, we were at farmer's market yesterday, and I was walking around with Maria, and she knew that I was feeling really anxious and stressed. And it's because for men, we get irritable a lot. So I was irritable. And, there were strollers and churros and kettle corn, and I wanted none of it. I was pissed. Like, I don't even know why I was pissed, but she read that. She read into it. She was more patient and empathetic. And she knew, baby probably needs a snack. And, I think that's really how women really just, I don't want to say read the tea leaves, but know that for men, anxiety exhibits itself in, distraction, denial, drugs, many things, irritability. Ollie can attest to all of this. But I'm not saying that women need a Captain Crunch secret mental health trigger decoder ring, but you almost do to know, like, what is my man feeling right now and what's going on. So for me, it manifests typically as irritability. And so that's a red flag to her. In the Russian culture, in my instance, they don't recognize anxiety or depression or gay people. It's just the way it is. Like, it's just a cultural thing. So some of that will be cultural. Some of it's just personality type. And a lot of the times I could wear her down with my anxiety because it's a lot. I have to find the right parking spot. I have to make sure we're sanitized. I have to, there's a lot of things. It's a lot of it's comedy and it's funny, except if you're living it. But it can wear her down in like, can you just park or drop me off in the front of the store? That type of thing. So I always have to be receptive to her as well as to what I have to do to minimize her stress from my anxiety. So it's a mutual thing. And so for women, I think you really have to know somebody and be attuned to them to know if they're suffering from anxiety or depression and it's manifesting as something else. But that's not your job as a woman. It's not other people's jobs. So we have to take responsibility for that. We have to self-care. We have to not over-caffeinate and put ourselves in a road rage situation and put somebody else in danger. So, that onus is on us as well.
But it might also benefit us to have a snack in our purse and throw it at you in case of emergencies.
100% she carries snacks for that reason. Yeah. I kid you not.
Get out the banana and chuck it at him.
Here
you go, monkey.
True. That's the thing as men, I feel like a lot of us, we just never grow up. Like, we get older, our bodies change, but inside we're like, what the hell? I'm still young and, virile, and I have all this aptitude and my body's failing me. But in a lot of ways, we kind of freeze frame.
Well, also no one recognizes, like, everyone recognizes menopause and like perimenopause as affecting a woman's mental health, her outlook, her social battery, her threshold for irritation. But andropause is basically male menopause. And no one freaking talks about that. Like, there's a reason that men become grumpy old men. It's because their testosterone gets low and their cortisol's high. And but nobody's like, hey, brother, have you considered HRT?
And some blood work? Yeah.
I'm having grumpy old menopause right now.
Exactly.
My grumpiness.
Exactly.
Oh, boy.
Paul, was there anything you want to add to perspective advice that you want to give to women before we move on to our social survey here that I took?
I'll say this from my personal life experience with my wife is that we have to realize our perspective in that too, so that we can talk to them to help them understand how we're feeling when we can't actually articulate it. If I'm acting like this in the future, just let me be. Don't follow me around the damn house asking me question after question. And especially folks with the ADHD stuff, the overwhelming side of it, it takes time sometimes for me to listen to something and then analyze it and then come up with a solution. Because anytime that, we have an argument or we have something going on, my first thought is how do I fix it and how do I get there? And if it's not something I can think of right away, like it's going to take me some time. And then that gets me all worked up, and then I've got to cool down, and then, I'll forget whatever happened. But a lot of it is, for me, is articulating to her, look, when I'm being an asshole, just say you're an asshole, let me be, and let's come back to it a little bit later, if we can do that at that point in time, if it's not an emergency.
That's Ali's point, right? That echoes what he was saying earlier, which is we don't have the language. We don't know what to say except for, hey, just tell me I'm being an asshole. Because we don't know what's the definition of asshole in this moment right now. Like, I'm feeling emotionally dysregulated because of my body and we don't know what to we don't know what to say. I
don't know what to say. And I'm not an argumenter either. I'm not argumentative. I do not want to have that conflict. So then again, I shut down and I'm quiet, and that's even more infuriating.
I'm the same way. Like, you get hot, and I'm like, how am I supposed to have rational thinking right now?
Mm-hmm.
I remember leaving. I had my ex-wife at the time. We got into this big fight, and I got so I'm not angry loud. I'm passionate about my feelings, and then I can't think, so I escape.
Yes.
And so I remember taking off in my bare feet one time and just driving away and be like, who am I right now? I couldn't define it.
I think so many men have had that experience. I've had that experience where I got so hot and overwhelmed that I just left.
Yeah.
I and this is like not when I was a kid. This is like 5 years ago. And I'm a psychologist. But like, I think that, what Jon was saying, like so many of us don't grow up. I think a lot of us as boys believe is what makes us a good man is what makes us strong, is what makes us like a good provider. All of these things. And the older we get, like a lot of those things kind of wear down. Our strength wears down. My knee's been hurting. You know why my knee's hurting? Because I took a bad step yesterday walking down the street. Like, I just stepped wrong. Like, what the hell?
Walking is dangerous.
Walking, yeah. What? And now I was Googling like good knee brace today. Like, that's what I'm doing after this. But if you define yourself so much as like your strength, well, that strength goes down over time, right? So like the other things that we need to have is friendships, meaning, contributing, being of service, communicating well, what the hell is going on in our head. We don't learn those things. We don't have those muscles, So I think I totally agree with all of you. And I love what Jon said is like so many of us feel like we don't grow up because no one helps us grow up in those ways.
Well, and part of what I am curious about, and I promise I will get into the survey that I took of my listeners, but we just keep going in all these juicy directions. Because Ali, you said like, okay, this is what makes me a good man. This is part of what makes me a good man. And the messaging around that I have absorbed peripherally is like being a good provider, right? And I just wonder why it is that more men don't see taking care of themselves, including mental health, as providing security. Because when I think about a secure future, I mean, yes, I would like a roof over my head, but I think about like me and my partner are solid. And they're solid and I'm solid and we know how to use feeling words and like we're good. But I don't think the men that I've observed really equate security provision as mental health caretaking for themselves. Is that, Jon, I actually want to ask you this. Is that something that you see changing at all? I mean, because I don't know, I guess I see you like kind of because you do write and your articles don't get clicks unless they're relevant, right? So is this an up and coming thing that men might start seeing or are seeing, or is this still completely not even on the radar?
Gosh, that's a great question because, so many guys are going to these testosterone clinics now, right? I mean, it's rampant everywhere. You can go to these clinics and get this, hack science and they'll tell you need TRT. To my doctor, I got blood tests. I'm not sleeping and I can't pee very fast anymore. And I'm like, what's going on? It's low testosterone. It's got to be low T. I need to get some T. On the dark web, order it with some LSD, mini tabs, whatever.
Just another Thursday.
Yeah, right. It's California, Silicon Valley. So that's how a lot of guys are handling this. I'm not. I didn't need it. My blood work was great. What was going on was stress. It goes to the bladder, it goes to the prostate, it goes to these other things. So what's going to happen is we either need to address that mental health component of our overall health holistically, or it's going to manifest into these other things. It goes into our stomach, it goes into our heart. It causes physiological symptoms and damage and disease. And I think more and more men are becoming aware of that now. And so I can tell you that, and I can attest to that by the articles I've written, and they're getting more clicks on these subjects in particular. For me, I had to deal with it. Denial will kill us. I wrote about this, so I'll talk about it real quick, but I was peeing blood pretty prolifically, what they call gross hematuria, on birthday. And this was in 2016. This went on and off for 10 months, and I didn't go to the doctor. Like, that's insane, right? Insane. But I knew they were going to shove a catheter up me and a scope and what I call dick rape. And I didn't want that. I'd rather die this horrible death of peeing out pieces of my insides, which I was doing, than go and just have an exam. I had the exam. It was cancer. But I wouldn't have known had I finally knocked on the doctor, and I would have died. There was a guy that ignored it for 2 months longer than I did, and he died, and he was in his 30s. It was a smoker's cancer. I never smoked. So I've always been an athlete. That's where denial gets us, right? In no short terms, it's killing us as men, which is, there's many reasons we die on average of 7 years faster than women. That is but one. So, right from the womb, we are more vulnerable on a physiological standpoint. And the short answer is yes, I think men are going to address this. Testosterone and some of these other band-aids aren't going to fix everything. So mental health is now more holistically integrated into our healthcare. But when I go to the doctor, nobody's asking me about it. When I found out I had anxiety, it was because I was convinced I had a heart attack, and they did an EKG and put glycerin under my tongue and, told me, you have anxiety, here's some Xanax. We have a long way to go, in short, but men know what they're feeling. And it's up to us again to get the help, because the denial ends very badly.
You're right. It touches every single part of our lives, even our physical ailments and our disposition on the future, our outlook on the future. Like, oh, the future is bright. Or if you're anxious, if you're depressed, the future is horrific and it's uncertain and full of unseen terrors. Which kind of brings me to the survey results. I was just asking people on my social media and in my audience, like, if you're a man, tell me what topics are hot for you in the area of mental health. And I was so surprised that the topic of purpose came up multiple times. And so I wanted to ask you, and Ali, I'll start with you, and then I'll go Russ, and then Paul, and then Jon. Do you remember, like, at a certain age that you felt that a sense of purpose became a mental health dynamic for you? And if you do you remember how that affected your identity as a man?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is middle school, which is always a horrible time for everybody.
Yeah, right.
I've never met anyone in my personal life or in my professional life who's like, you know what, middle school, that's when I was thriving.
Most confident time of my life.
Yeah. When all my limbs are out of proportion and like I'm smelling weird and like deeply
Squeaky
uncomfortable.
voices and acne.
Yeah, totally. Oh my God. But I have a distinct memory in middle school when I started to like girls, absolutely 100% hating myself. And I had this deep fear that no girl would ever want to touch me. And I thought I was a failure, not as a man, but just as a person. Like, I wasn't thinking like, I'm a man and I need this. No, I was just thinking, I just want a girl to touch me. Just like, not like sex, but like, well, hopefully. But like, I just like it would be really nice if a girl wanted to hold my hand or like give me a hug, you know?
Even a little boop on the nose. Boop.
A little, or maybe a little bit more than that. And
Boop somewhere.
yeah, somewhere. And I've spoken about this now with some of my closest friends. I have two. My closest friends are two friends I've known since middle school and high school. So we've talked about this, and they both were like, "Yeah, me too. I hated myself too, and I didn't think anyone was ever gonna want to touch me." So it kind of started there where I felt like my worth was totally tied, and my sense of purpose and meaning was to be attractive, strong, and I wasn't that. Even though that doesn't reflect reality, right? It doesn't matter like if anyone was attracted to me or not. It's something I totally believed. And so I don't know if I'm answering your question, Meredith, but I'm answering a question. And so
Yes.
I will go with that.
I think middle school is always the right answer to a mental health question. Honest, like, when did it go wrong? Middle school. When did you start feeling that way? Middle school, you know? Well, no, the question was about like a sense of purpose, because I was surprised that was an answer that it wasn't like it was a group forum where I was asking this question and one person answers purpose, and so three others answer purpose. These were private messages from men who could not see each other's messages. And they were saying, I would love to hear about a sense of purpose or a lack of a sense of purpose and how that affects mental health. And I thought, wow, I'm really glad that I asked this question, because that was not at all on my radar. And so that's why I became curious. I wonder when that sense of purpose or lack of sense of purpose first entered your thought as a young person.
I mean, it started in middle school, and it's repeated and cycled and changed, and it's changed more in the last few years, I would say, than at any point in my life, because of where the world is. But I'm really curious what other folks think about this, because I feel that heat too around purpose with me and my community and the people I try to serve.
Jon, what about you?
I really struggle with this as well. My biological father was a decorated fighter pilot, and he was just a badass. I naturally thought that was in my DNA. So as soon as I turned 18, I got on the train and joined the military, and absolutely hated it. It was not my destiny at all. I thought I wanted to fly. The first time I got in a cockpit, I also hated it. I didn't know you had to plan to fly. I thought you just got in and flew. Went all this pre-flight stuff and talking to people. And I really had to retool it because I was wired for that, my whole life, and I didn't know what to do. And I floundered. I floundered for decades. I quit my community college 7 times. So when I finally got into an actual real 4-year college, I had this really chopped up Cobb salad of transcripts and floundered all the way through grad school. I still didn't know. And it wasn't until I started journaling, and it wasn't until I journaled about the male breakup, and the producer saw it and reached out because he went through a breakup and wanted to do a screenplay. That was the moment that I was like, I need to write about what I'm actually feeling. There's something here. And I didn't know what it was. And I just kept writing, and I just kept journaling. And that was when I found my sense of purpose. Now, it's not going to be through another person. It's not going to be through your job. It's not going to be through external factors. It's something within us. I thought if I surrounded myself with a fighter jet or something like that, I would be complete. I would never have been complete. I wasn't complete until I tapped into who I really am and my shame and my incompleteness, and how, as Ollie described, I hated myself. I loathed myself. I went into deep depression, and to the point I was hospitalized a couple of times. What I was doing. And then I drank myself silly and edibles until I was in the hospital. There was a lot of bad stuff that the whole time I just wasn't addressing. If you start a diary, you're going to be okay. That's what I did. And then I started writing about this stuff, and I found out I'm okay. And if people think that I'm not okay, I don't give a shit. I'm okay, and I know I'm okay. And this is actually turning into something. And it turned into books and authoring and writing for some of the, my favorite magazines and some of these other things. Now, I still have to work a day job for, because I live in California, and writing is a bloodbath, and journalists are getting laid off. And that's okay, because I live my life as a pie. And each section, I have the relationships, the working out, the, learning things, and then the writing and that sort of thing. So I think for me, my legacy is that I'm tapping into my suffering to hopefully help other people. And not everybody's going to like me. That's okay. I don't need anybody's validation as long as I feel good about that and about what I'm doing and how I'm spending my time.
Well, that's quite the journey. Russ, what about you?
Yeah, I went to I Hate Myself middle school and Camp I Sucky Human. I also went through all that. I never had purpose. I had shiny things that felt like purpose. And I don't think I found my purpose until I was like 40. And this was right when I got diagnosed with ADHD and depression. Before that, I was just a big piece of shit. I just did not know that, I'm going through a thing. I thought, oh no, everybody hates me and this is the end of the thing. And I want to say this about like the finding the purpose. I read a book called Careergasm, which just changed a lot for me, which was like the trick was go back through every single job you've ever had in life. And what was the thing that you liked? All the shitty jobs that sucked, what was the thing that you liked about them? And so I found servitude in that. Like, I love taking people's bags up to their rooms as a bellman. That for me was the best part of this stupid job. But in ADHD, like purpose doesn't, I don't want to sound awful about it, but purpose doesn't really mean shit because it won't compel you to action. So it doesn't matter if you know your why and it doesn't matter if you know your purpose. You're still not going to do the thing. So for me, it was about learning how to be cool with myself. And so I guess in that respect, I don't have to love myself, but I can be cool with myself, right? And I can learn the tools and the tricks of what I know my purpose to be, what I've discovered my purpose to be. Now I can do the things that are in alignment with that, even though they don't feel right in the moment. So many of us are looking for a light to be like, I found it. Now I can be happy. And that's scary to me because that's not what happened for me. So it scares me for other people.
Well, I think there's a pattern here. I'm curious what Paul's going to say because I wonder if he'll also, match up to this pattern is all of you found some purpose like through your discomfort or suffering. And that's really interesting to me because it's natural for us to want to avoid discomfort or suffering. So, Paul, what about you?
I grew up in a really small town. And when I say small town, I meet a lot of folks that say a small town, 3,000, 5,000 people. My town had 800 people. So small town. It was always athletics, was working on the farm. It was doing stuff around the neighborhood for people, cutting grass and all that. I feel like I always felt like I had a purpose growing up and, it would change daily, weekly, whatever, but it would change. And then as I got older and got into college, always in through athletics, through college, I had a purpose and it was to play as hard as I could play and do what I needed to do to be successful in that. It was never school. I never wanted to do anything with academics besides what I need to do to stay eligible to play. But, I've always felt like I had in my mind, I had purposes, and that's what I focused my attention to. I have a lot of attention. It was all over the place. But when I felt like this was my purpose to play sports, it was all that. Or if it was to, do a job at the farm, it was all that. And so I feel like I've maintained that type of mindset to the point where I am now. In that when something comes up, if it's fishing a tournament or if it's my business, like that's my purpose at that point in time. And so for me, my purpose changes a lot based off what I've got going on. And so that's where my attention goes. And, I'm very self-aware of the stuff that I do good and the stuff that I do bad. And so sometimes I want to improve those things. Sometimes I want to just change completely. But the purpose side of it for me was always whatever I'm doing, do it the best I can. And it kind of comes into a little bit of people pleasing. Like I wanted people to see that I did well. I didn't necessarily want them to acknowledge it, but I just wanted them to know that I was doing it. They didn't have to tell me for me to feel good. So my purpose is whatever it is at that point in time that I need to do to be successful and make the people around me successful or at ease. From that standpoint, a lot of, problem solving. If somebody has a problem, like I want to, let's figure this out. Let's give 2 or 3 options to try to see if it solves that problem. And then if it does, great. I feel good.
I really admire that about you, that your sense of purpose has that flexibility, because it inspires you to try new things. Every time I catch up with you, you're like, oh, and now I'm trying this, and this is the really cool thing that happened from it. Like, you are able to see value in these new things. And I'm curious if that is a common trait, or if that's like a Paul superpower, because
yes, it's a superpower to me. It is a common trait, we'll call it, for my family, my sisters and mom and daddy and my wife. I have done a lot of things in the short amount of time I've been on this earth. I've been a police officer, a wildland firefighter. I mean, just all kinds of stuff, a business owner, so many different things. And, I was always afraid to fail something, but if I failed it, I was like, okay, let's go to the next thing. Let's not dwell on it. Let's forget it as quickly as possible. Let's find something else to go do. And so throughout my career, up until I've had the business that I have now, this is the second longest, let's say, career that I've had. And so that purpose for me was, I was afraid to fail. But if I did fail, what was the learning experience that I got out of it to be able to go to the next thing? And the best example I really have to give is when we moved to where we live now in North Carolina. I started in financial services, and it wasn't going great. And then COVID hit, and I turned into a stay-at-home dad and a teacher, which everybody in my family is a teacher, and I didn't want to be one, but here we were. And so, that I knew that was it. I mean, it was already not doing well. So what am I going to do next? No clue. Reached out to some people, and then this business opportunity came up. And so, great, this is it. Let's roll with it. And that's what I'm doing now. So for me, it was really, the purpose is to just do what I need to be doing at that point in time in my life, whatever it is. If you can imagine a feather in the wind, that's what I am, about that feather floating down in Forrest Gump, but the wind's hurricane strength. That's kind of how I live my life. So I was a police officer, and I came home one day and told my wife, I says, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to Florida in 2 weeks to get wildland firefighter training. And she's like, what the fuck? You're going from police officer to wildland firefighting. And, she was my girlfriend at the time. And, so, that's just the kind of surprises that can come up. But again, to me, it was what is my next purpose? And that's not always a good thing, right? That puts a lot of stress on the people that love you around you. But for me, I wasn't going to be miserable in a job.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of men are miserable in a job because that's what they do. That's what they're expected to do. That's what brings in the money. And so they stay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to find something that is going to have, that I'm not miserable in, but also fulfills all the needs of my family.
Well, here's the thing, though. You're not afraid, apparently, as a feather in the wind, afraid of beginner's mind. Like, you're like, yeah, being a beginner, it's great. It's another purpose. It's a different version of this life. I am not too sure how many other men see it that way. And because, like, even friendship, right? It's difficult for all people, probably not just men, to go, I'm going to go meet new people and really embrace the beauty of that beginner stage of any new friendship. It could go great. It could go awful. It could be a big old meh. Who knows? Right. But I think a lot of people are a little bit more fearful of that beginner's mind. And that's part of what keeps them stuck. Hey, Curiositors, just a quick pause to show gratitude to our sponsors and give you some special deals. From time to time, I recommend other podcasts you might like. And here's one I know that you're going to love. It's the Jordan Harbinger Show. I love it because it's smart without being too highbrow and 1,000% ADD friendly. I know, you love it already.
I'm a genuine true fan. When I have time to listen to podcasts just for pleasure, not, guest research, the Jordan Harbinger Show is my automatic choice. It's like when you're hungry and someone asks you what you want, and then before you even have a minute to think about it, you find yourself at Chick-fil-A because, obviously, Jordan's the Chick-fil-A of podcasts. Some of my favorites include the one with the man held hostage by Somali pirates. That's episode 115. And the pain psychologist about how pain lives in the brain, not in the body. Episode 661. You can't go wrong with adding the Jordan Harbinger Show to your rotation. It's incredibly interesting and there's never a dull show. Search for the Jordan Harbinger Show. That's HARB as in boy, I, N as in Nancy, GER. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. The Florida Panhandle isn't just the home of your favorite podcaster. That's me, by the way. Shameless, I know. But it's also a go-to spot for a lot of families on vacation. Don't plan a Pensacola trip without getting tickets to the UWF Historic Trust. It's good for a whole week, and it's a great indoor activity option. You'll recognize Trader John's where I record the show in the Pensacola Museum of History. Get your tickets in person so you can show the agent one of my emails and get $2 off an adult ticket. historicpensacola.org. Now back to the show. Remember to stay till the end where I give you a sneak peek of next week's episode. Russ, what do you think?
Real quick before Russ says that, I'm curious as to his thing from the ADHD mindset, because for me, it's always getting into that lull of, I'm not being challenged anymore. And so what's the next challenge I can get? So I'm curious to what he says from the folks that have, some kind of neurodivergent or whatever the word is on that.
Wacky skull spaghetti.
Constantly. There we go.
We were wondering when that was going to enter the chat.
I gotta say it one time. I embrace beginner's mind. For me, it's the shiny object syndrome of like being excited about something new because something old got complacent or lost its shine. So that's a different thing. There's so many. The normie world, the construct of the normie world, where you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, there's a 401k, you provide, quote unquote, you're a provider, you fall into the man role. That I don't identify with that at all. So sometimes, what does it mean to be a man and all that? That I don't associate with it so much as being a human. And so Paul's going to be unique. His optimism about, oh, well, fuck it. I got shot in the leg. I'm going to be a firefighter instead. I don't know what it would be. This is a stupid job. So I can only really relate to my own unique experience. And, in our community, there's like a collective experience. Ultimately, I don't know where this is going, but like it's community is the answer to a lot of these issues, especially with, if we're going to call it manness, right? The manliness of it all, of shared struggles, shared insights. So we go, oh, I'm not alone. Oh, you're a piece of shit. I'm a piece of shit too. Okay. Maybe that means we're not a piece of shit. Maybe it means we're both struggling in the same way. And so that camaraderie ship, connectedness. Yeah.
Oh, I like that one.
Ollie,
Yeah,
we don't
I
have
like
the
that one.
language. We need your language.
We don't have
dude.
the language. We can't even say like companionship. Gosh, what's wrong
Oh,
with
there it is. It's companionship.
It's like Mr. Deeds.
Can I just throw it over to Ollie? What are we trying to say here, Ollie? I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know what I'm saying.
There's so much, man. There's so much here. John was talking about. Was his grandfather was a fighter pilot?
His biological dad.
His biological dad was a fighter pilot, and so many of us. And Russ, you were just talking about that, like get a job, 401k, like that linear path, which I think is like not going to exist for most humans. Like
right?
very soon.
Is that even a thing anymore?
It's gone. I think so many of us define our worth by like the title and what we do. And I found that to be just such complete bullshit in my life. I thought getting my degree, like, this is what I'm here for. And then I got my dream job working at this university that I loved, being in the medical center, doing some teaching, working with patients, doing all the stuff that I wanted, and I completely hated it. Like it burnt me out. And what I discovered is like the system I was working in of healthcare is such complete trash in America that it drives healthcare providers to burnout. Like every pathway just kind of leads you there. And then I thought, okay, like the YouTube stuff, this is going to be all my worth. And once I reach 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to have made it. And I reached that number and like nothing changed in my life except more pressure as to like why things aren't changing in my life, right?
I see a play button behind you. You got a placard.
It's there.
You got a play button.
I look official, right?
When you told your wife, hey, I just hit 100K on YouTube.
Yeah.
Was she elated or was she like, good job, honey?
You know, she knew that was a goal I was working towards, and she was proud of me for reaching that. And then I would tell her like in the months that followed that like nothing's changing. Like my views aren't changing. I'm not like making more money. Like I thought I would have made it, but it's this like mental goal I set for myself, right? And it was another one I reached and nothing changed. And I think that's what like we're all kind of talking about is like the real meaning comes from like these small moments. Like Paul, you were talking about like learning and growing, which I love. And Russ, something I really related to was you're talking about how like your favorite part of the day was like bringing up bags for like people. And my favorite job in my entire life was my first job when I was working at the movie theater. I tore tickets, I sold tickets, I cleaned up, I did projections, I was working concessions, I did all those things. But my favorite part of it is I got to be a part of someone's best part of their day.
Dude,
you know,
how awesome is that?
It's the best.
It's
the
so
best.
Cool.
You know, like I got to be like everyone loves going to the movies, right?
Yeah.
Like especially before you see the movie. Like the movie might suck.
Yeah. The anticipation.
But the
right?
anticipation,
You
like
get that.
That's the peak, right? The peak part of your day is I'm about to see a movie and maybe this is going to be awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I was right there. Like that was great. And then I spent a decade of my life becoming this person who is there with you at the worst part of your life.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like, I was like, oh, whoa. I did not expect this, but I am now the person that you go to when you're at a very, very, very low. Unfortunately, the way the mental health care system works is you don't get help when you're like, things are like you're struggling.
Yeah.
You get help when you reach like rock bottom.
You're
right?
the rock bottom guy.
I'm the rock bottom guy, which is not where I wanted to be.
That's nuts. Yeah.
Hey,
got you.
Ali, how do you deal with that for yourself?
Yeah.
You know, in your life, how do you disconnect from all the bad shit that you're hearing with people at their rock bottom? How do you come home and bring yourself out of the despair that you've heard all
And
that?
does it wash your whole life? Do you think this is what?
Yeah.
Because it's like your global view is all you see, really.
In the first few years of working as a psychologist, it did. Especially when I worked with kids and teenagers. I just thought every kid and teenager was like this.
Oh, man.
And then I would go to like birthday parties and there's other kids there. And I'm like, oh, you know, if you don't have anxiety, depression, or substance use or these other problems, like you might actually be nice to hang out with. Like my view of the world was shaped by this because so much of my world is full of the worst parts of the world. You know, the worst, not, and I don't mean people, I mean like the things people go through, like the roughest things. But I think to answer your question, Paul and Russ, like the thing I had to learn, and I think you all are going to relate to this, is my worth as a psychologist was separate from the performance of my patients. I thought like if all my patients aren't getting better fast, then I'm a bad person. And I had to learn that like no. Being a good psychologist is not about everyone gets better. Being a good psychologist is about bringing your A game, knowing what you're doing, forming a good relationship, providing the best service you can. And then what happens to the other person is like it's not up to you. Like,
Wow.
you know, and I think that's like true
awesome.
of, right? Like that's true
Yeah.
of all of us, is like we tie our worth related to performance, but if we're showing up and giving the best we can, that's plenty. And so like worth for me and meaning is now just, I try to be the best part of someone's day. Like whether that's my neighbor,
Tearing
whether
the
that's
ticket,
my
bro.
yeah, like
That's right.
I want people to walk away and be like,
Yeah.
that was cool. Like I enjoyed hanging out with that guy. That's all I try to do now. That's
That's
it.
super motivating. And especially like in the time that we live right now, where we are slaves to the Facebook likes, and we're slaves to all these things where we're going like, I'm gonna get my worth from you. So from your reaction to me is where my worth comes from.
Yeah.
And I do that too, like in our community and stuff, and the work that I do, I get caught up in that big time to be like, if a person isn't, you know, like they don't get their shit together fast, then I'm a piece of shit. You know,
Yeah.
Oh man, that's super inspiring. I'm glad you said that.
I think it also speaks to what you said earlier, Russ, like the importance of community. Because, you know, Ali, you were like, oh, there's kids out there that are like happy and well adjusted.
They don't hate me and telling me I'm a piece of shit. And the parents are like, what's wrong with you? Like, we're paying you all this money. Why isn't the kid getting better? Yeah.
Right.
Oh my
yeah. Like it
God.
really speaks to that importance. So I'd love to shift a little bit to the topic of friendship. And I do want to address that Jon got a new job today. And so he had to dip out early. So if you're wondering where he went, where his voice is, where his video is, that is why. So you can all send him congratulations on his new job. But we didn't want to not include him because he had so much to add. So to kick this friendship thing off, I want to do like true or false round robin. So we'll do Russ, Ali, and Paul, and just say true or false, and then we'll unpack it, okay? Okay, so true or false, men suffer from shallow friendships because of their refusal for voluntary self-disclosure with other men. Russ.
Oh, it's too many words. False.
Could you
I'm like,
talk to me like
I
I'm
lost
six?
it. I lost it halfway through. I was like, men are bad at what?
If you had a 6-year-old, Meredith.
False.
Okay.
And I'm going to
Tell
figure
us
out a
what
way
it
to make it
sound
false.
Let me try again. Okay.
Make it like caveman language.
Okay.
Men are bad.
Friendship bad.
Fuck them friends.
Like,
Okay. Men suffer from shallow friendships.
dumb friendships. Friendships that don't mean anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
gonna
dumb. Okay.
translate for myself.
Translate. Okay. Okay. you
Men have
translate.
bad relationships
Because of their refusal
because they don't want to
for voluntary self-disclosure
talk about themselves.
with other men.
No. They have
Okay.
shallow. I'm going to say false.
Okay, Ali.
False. This clear false to me.
Yeah,
Okay.
false.
Okay. All right, and then Russ. Why
If
is
you
this
have to
false?
ask Meredith, you'll never know, and I'm sticking with that.
Go read a book.
You
The
should.
first
yeah.
rule of male friendships is you do not talk about
Talk
shallow.
about it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Do your
If you want everybody
research.
else to be friends with you, don't
Yeah.
talk about yourself unless they ask.
To define that, it's saying that we have shallow relationships, but I don't think we have shallow relationships. I think the way that we are in relationships might not be what other people would think is a good relationship, but I have great relationships with friends, and we don't talk about our feelings, but we connect. We get the what is it, the oxytocin? I don't know, we get the good vibe chemical from talking about, why tortilla chips are so hard to stop eating at night. Or whatever goals we've got. We connect through our goal chatter, maybe.
This is so
False.
eye-opening. Oh,
Meredith, false. What is false for 500?
Real quick, if you eat 24 tortilla chips, you've eaten 12 whole tortillas.
I've heard that statistic, and it really upsets me.
Wait. Give me that math again, Paul.
If you eat 24 tortilla chips,
Yeah.
wait, I'm not good at math. I was a piece
I
of
think
work
there's
defense
4
major.
chips to 1 tortilla.
There's 4 chips per, yeah. So what is that
wow.
math wise?
It's
Oh,
fucked
wow.
up. It's
six. You've eaten 6 whole tortillas.
I feel like that's some kind of weird Einstein relativity there. I don't like it.
When it's in the
it.
form
It's
of
supposed to be-
nachos, it's okay.
Yeah. This is
Now
one
we're
of
all
our
gonna go-
fundamental food groups as men. Come on. Guys, this is bad.
Yeah, this is not going down good.
Yeah.
This feels like snack string theory or something. you know?
Yeah. It's like Interstellar, like, like the closer you are to the chip, like
snacks.
the larger
Yeah.
the tortilla becomes.
Look, let's put it together. You have snacks, you have bears, and you have friends. That's kind of, if you think about guys' friendships, that's the randomness that's involved a lot of times.
Yeah. I agree with Russ and Paul here. Like, okay, the most important mental health skill is something called social support. And all that means is getting help from other people in the way you want to get help and giving help to other people in the way that they want to get help. So a lot of people think that means, oh, you talk about your feelings. No, it's not the only. Some people don't want to get help that way. And hanging out with your buddy, what does that require? You got to get dressed. You go out, you leave your home. You're getting a break from your stressors. You're probably doing some physical activity, which is really good for your stress. You're hanging out. Maybe you talk. Maybe you get some advice. Maybe you don't, but that's fine too. And the more you do that, the more you can call upon that buddy when you need help moving or you need some kind of like actual tangible help. All that stuff is all good. That's all good. Like, social support doesn't need to be like emotional support. Now, the problem is that most men only talk about their feelings with the women in their lives. Yeah, that's a problem. But let's not call like most of what our male friendships are like shallow just because it appears like we're not talking about our feelings, even though we're doing a ton of work on our feelings.
What say you, Paul?
To me, the friendship is a really big word because I have a ton of friends.
I noticed your social media
yes.
makes me feel like my introversion compared to, we already know this about each other, right? My introversion contrasted with your extroversion were like night and day.
And then that's what it comes down to. Introverts have best friends who are a handful of friends that are in their life. That's who they want to hang out with. That's who they want to talk to. And that's their friend circle. Whereas me, and my wife always says this when I say, hey, I have a friend or whatever. I got a friend. Who are you talking to? Or what are you doing? Everybody's your friend. I'm like, yes, exactly. Because everybody that I come in contact with, like we have different things to talk about. So I have a lot of friends. I don't necessarily have a best friend, that person that I'm always doing something with or that I only want to do something with. And so the friendship thing for me comes into play into who do you enjoy being around and what do they give you in return for your time being with them and vice versa. When a true friendship is I'm going to get something out of this interaction, they're going to get something out of this interaction. And my wife has a group of friends who they're best friends since college. And so they meet every year and stuff. I really don't have that, but I've got a lot of friends that I talk to daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly. But the friendship thing to me is who you are as a person. You got to have them. You can't, to be a recluse, it works for some people, but you still have to have that social interaction so that, whatever you're trying to fulfill in giving something back or taking something from that person, like you having that friendship can always ease your mind. And we were talking about this in the green room, myself and Russ, is that I have a buddy of mine who's 44. I'm 43. We send each other cat videos from TikTok and Instagram all the time. And
he shared that with me. So men can actually share these really embarrassing facts about each other.
I'm an open book. I have no shame.
The kimono is still wide open.
Wide open.
And I ain't got no draws on.
Yeah.
But that's so to kind of wrap it up for what I'm saying is I'll be having a stressful day or something, and then I'll scroll social media and I'll see a cat video and I'll send it to my buddy Hasi. And, he responds back. And that shit makes me feel good. He even have to respond. Me just sending him that, knowing that he's going to watch it and enjoy it as much as I did, is great. And I haven't seen him since 2017. And I've only seen him once since like 2013. The majority of our interactions are just sending that back and a few texts here or there. We don't really ever talk on the phone, maybe once a year. But just knowing I have that friendship with him and I can send him that stuff and he's enjoying it as much as I do. And then when I get one from him, like to me, that is a friendship that I enjoyed. It makes me feel good in times where I might not be feeling good or whatever it is.
This is so interesting. I think I'm learning that my definition of friendship has a history of being rather rigid. And I mean, that is an introvert problem, by the way. So we're like seats taken when you have like one friend.
Can't see here.
No, seriously, it's a real example that I've had. Like, why I remember like being confused about friendship as a child and talking to my mom about it, and she just didn't know what to do with me. And you don't know what you don't know. Going back to the value of community again, right now we've created a little pop-up community that we're all benefiting from, and even though we're here to talk about men's mental health, I am learning about how friendship can look from all of you. Okay, so I want to move on to the romantic relationship department of friendship, because Ali, you said something about we usually disclose to our wives the most.
The women in our lives.
Women in our lives,
which might be your wife, might be a few other ladies. Who knows?
It's a side chick.
Whoa.
That would be such a weird side chick. You'd like, I disclose all my emotional baggage to this one woman. So is it?
That's kind of how it starts.
Ali is, well, yeah, that is true. That's true. Ali, is it a good idea or a bad idea for your wife to be your best friend?
So I consider best friends to be a category and not like a singular person. To me, a best friend is like someone who gets the full window into what I'm thinking, what I'm struggling with, what I love. They know the real me. And I think there's a few people in that category. My wife is included in that. I think the dangerous part is if you're getting everything from one person. And I think some men fall into that category of woman in their life might be their source of like all their support. And I think that's really hard. I have a buddy, I won't name him, but he knows who he is.
Shout out to whoever he is.
Troy. Shout out. Yeah.
He's a buddy. He's not a friend.
Yeah, I did say best friend, right? He's not at that category. But he tries to do he's also newlywed, and he tries to do everything with his wife. And I'll recommend, I'm like, oh, dude, you got to check out this show. And he's like, okay, I'll put that on the list to like watch with my wife. I'm like, why? They're very kind of much in that phase of figuring out, like, do I do everything together? What do I do separately? And I think you need to not like put all your eggs in one basket, because if like your whole mental health is dependent on this one person and that person's having a hard time, or your relationship's in a tough spot, then where do you go? Who do you talk to about this stuff?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you've probably isolated all your other friends because you dropped them as soon as you got together with your partner, and now you have to, build it back up before you can extract whatever emotional support you need from them.
Yeah, like when my wife and I have been together for a long time, and in the early few years, I thought I need to share all my passions with her. And I'm a huge nerd. I love Star Trek so hard. I love Star Wars too, but I want to
so deep into Star Trek.
I am so deep. I got so many starships here. I've got one of my prized possessions is this. It's an original from the original series. It's it's Spock. This is actual film. It was an outtake. It wasn't used, but this is actual film from the original series.
Cool as hell.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. And if my kids ever mess this up, I am disowning them. But, in the first few years, I thought I need to share this love with my wife. Like, she needs to understand Star Trek. She needs to watch it. We need to share this thing together. And it took me a while to get to a point of, no, she needs to like know why it's important to me, but she doesn't need to like participate in it at all. Yeah. And that was a big challenge for me. It might sound stupid, but like it took me a while to get to that place of like, she's got her stuff. I've got my stuff. There's some stuff we share. That's cool. And we also don't have to share everything, but we need to respect and understand each other's stuff, you know?
Yeah, I think you should have enough time apart that when you come together, you have something interesting to talk about that isn't gossip. You know?
Totally.
Because otherwise you're like, did you hear what so-and-so did? And it's like, well, that's not really, you're not feeding your relationship healthy things. So yeah, I tend to be in the camp of your partner should not be your best friend. Because you said it's hard on, like, in a male-female scenario, it's hard on the guy to have, well, it's hard on the woman too. It's hard on us if we're your only pal, you know. And I see a lot of women make this mistake where they expect their partners to be like their shopping buddy, like at the mall.
God.
Ew.
And
God.
like, and also, you know, the person that they watch whatever trash television. I'm listing very stereotypical female activities here, but to make a point, because I'm like, is that gonna turn you on? Like, that he's like, girl, that color, you're such a summer. You know, like, is that okay? I mean, if that does it for you, great. But it's not possible, in my opinion, to have your husband fills every bucket and he's still your lover. Like, just get another friend, you know? Like, if your husband's not the best at something, get a friend who's great at that and round it out and really take advantage of being, you know, a human on earth with other humans.
Well, speaking of trashy TV, my wife got me into the Real Housewives of New Jersey for the first like 6 seasons, and we were best friends when we watched that, and we gossiped and had girl time.
That's so
and
cute.
we had a great time doing it.
Yeah.
But that's about the only thing.
Case by case, then. We're doing this case by case.
Case by case.
Yes.
Just don't, as
Exactly.
Ali said, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
She ain't going fishing or camping. She ain't going fishing or camping.
Well, that's my divergent. My girlfriend and I do go camping.
Yeah.
But I also don't necessarily watch trashy TV with her either. So
I will say my wife doesn't like Star Trek, but she really does love like Black Mirror and like other sci-fi stuff. We got into the show For All Mankind, which is a sci-fi thing. So you never know, but like, you know, Meredith, one of the things you said is like, get another friend. And I think that's kind of a subtext here. We're all adults. At least we play some on podcasts like this.
speak for yourself.
Yeah.
There's 2 adults here, and it's not myself.
Not it.
And
Not it.
it's not my buddy down here below me.
I think all this stuff is 10 times harder for teenagers and young adults. It is harder to make friends, especially as a boy. You know, you kind of have 2 options. You got playing sports or playing video games. And like there's almost nothing in between. It's very hard to like casually hang out, make friends. It's also very hard to date outside of apps. Like, it's this stuff is way harder, and I think a lot of boys are really struggling as a result. And I don't have easy answers for like how to fix this.
I think some of it is also like the rules. Like, get rid of all these rules. That the idea of having a partner for a thing and a best friend for a thing, that makes it too hard. Like, don't you would want to bond over interests. How else are we going to meet people? Like, I'm bonding over the Desperate Housewives, or I'm bonding over camping, or whatever it is. And then just to naturally be okay having different interests and saying, that's not interesting to me, but I know you love it. So great. Right? Like, I have to make fun of pharmaceutical commercials. I have to pretend I have that disease. And you're kidding me. There's an answer. I have to ask my doctor about it, and I'll create a character. And my girlfriend is like, every time. I'm like, this is who you're with.
Yeah.
So it's like,
welcome.
Well, this is who but it's like, but having an acceptance of that person for who they are, not for who they need to be for me. So if a person is into Star Trek, you win. Great. But I'm going to talk to Brian about acting and about comedy, all that stuff. That's my guy for that. Great. Then that's it. But there's no rule. Rules are so fucking hard for me.
Well, Dr. Ali brought up a good point with young boys in video games. They have friends that they will never meet in life that they play video games with. But that also, you know, how many folks do y'all know that are adults that play video games? Like that, to me, that is a form of friendship where folks can facilitate a relationship with another person and have that bond, and they can be a best friend and never met. I co-host a fishing podcast, and we've been doing it 4 years. And it wasn't until a month ago that my co-host and I actually met in person. He's in New Jersey. And so we record once a week through video and audio, and had never met. And we would call each other best friends. You know, we're always in communication because we're having to do the stuff for that. We hear all this negativity about friendships with, or with social media and digital technology and stuff. But how many doors has that opened for grown men to have a relationship with another person that they call a friend, even though they may never meet in real life? That's somebody they can still talk to. They're interacting, doing something fun that they both enjoy and are having a good time doing. So this digital age isn't a bad thing when you can create those friendships as an adult.
Yeah, that's a beacon of light for depressed people too, right? That are isolated, right? And so there's a baby step opportunity to connect with another human. I think it's beautiful.
On the subject of kids, there's also esports teams now.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of this?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So it combines the best of both worlds, the interaction, the team camaraderie, the strategy, the character development that you find from a traditional sports team mixed with the enthusiasm of video games. And a lot of these programs are sponsored by the DoD, and you can earn college scholarships from doing well in these teams. And they literally like have tryouts and yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, Paul, because it's a good reminder, because I tend to be a little Luddite a little bit when it comes to those things. As we round out our time, I want to ask you 2 more questions, but one of them's kind of related to what we're already talking about, which is the next generation. And Ali, I'll start with you, because all of you have kids. What are you trying to do differently with raising your kids in terms of mental health that maybe you kind of wished had gone differently for you growing up?
I'd say the biggest thing I'm doing differently is understanding that whatever feeling my kid is having is the real feeling that they're having, and there's nothing wrong with that feeling. My dad was a great dad. And I think one of the things that my dad did the best is he worked a 9 to 5, and when he came home, he was home every day at 5:15, which is really great to know when I needed to like get home so it seems like I've been home all afternoon. He's very reliable. He was very reliable. Yeah.
Yes.
But like once he was home and he was present. And I aspired to that with my kids. But one of the things that he did not so well, and I think he just didn't have the skills to, is if I was crying, if I was sad, and like after I got into middle school, it was like, boys don't cry. You know, he slapped me one time when I was really crying, and he's like, boys don't cry. You don't do that. But one of the things that I try to do differently is, you know, if my son or my daughter are having intense emotions that like I don't understand and I think don't fit the situation, you know what? They're not choosing to have that. They're not choosing to be incredibly sad or mad. It's just happening. So I kind of try to meet them where they are and just like honor that. And I think no matter who you are, you can find a way to validate the feeling that someone's having. Like you could disagree with it, but this is what they're experiencing. It's real. Honor it. Let's help them find a way to move through it. Then you can talk about whatever happened. So I try to do that with both my son and daughter. And it's hard, but I try to do that. I didn't get that. My dad didn't know how to do that. I'm trying to do that.
Love that.
That's awesome.
What about you, Russ?
God, that's awesome. I want to read the Ali parenting book because there's a lot that I'm into that. That's awesome. I grew up not being good enough. So that's, or you know how you interpret. My parents are awesome, but they're very sport mentality, hardcore sports. So the encouragement in sports is try harder, do better. You can give a little bit extra, do a little bit more. And all I interpret that as is I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to be lovable. You know, you always try to undo the parent thing on your kids. So I always am like, my kids are good enough as is. Like, so when they bring home grades, I'm like, it's a C+. How do you feel? Are you happy with that or not? Yeah, I'm fine with it. Okay, me too. I'm good with it too. I I love, and I was telling Paul this earlier, when Gail and I were getting divorced, they were young. And so we were like, let's make sure that we are open for the kids. And so it was like, okay, I had a thing called open forum, which meant like when they're with me, I was like, you guys can, this during open forum, I'm not allowed to get mad no matter what you tell me. So anything you need to share, let's go, share it. And then Alistair would say the shit like, you know what? When you talk, sometimes it hurts my head. And I'm like, it's so like, that's not where I wanted this to go. Anything about your mom and I's relationship? No, just you're really fucking annoying right now.
And that hat you're wearing, it's so ugly. I hate that hat, Dad.
Look, you can't ask a question if you're not prepared for the answer.
Yeah. So then I storm out crying. Okay, you'll never understand me. No. But it's a lot of it is just, I think that, which I'm going to raise the bar on with what you're saying, Ollie, is that honoring the feeling, right? Like, so they're going to feel however they're going to feel in whatever moment, right or wrong, or effective or ineffective, or whatever it may be. It's real and it's true. And to honor that is great. I love that. And to be available as a dad to say, if you need me for anything, I'm here, right? Yeah.
You know, I grew up in athletics. My mama, aunts, uncles, grandparents, daddy, everybody were coaches at some point in their life, and some still are. So I grew up in sports my whole life, 3-4 sports a year, and it was great for me. And our kids both are athletic. My wife was a gymnast, so our kids do a lot of sports. And so I take it to that. And, you know, one of the things that I try to do is that when we talk about a game or a practice or something, it's always, you know, and this is not just sports, it's anything, kind of like Russ was saying with grades, is, you know, look, where do we start off with? Do we start off with what you can improve on or what you did good? And usually what can we improve on? And then we end with, man, you did great at this. But really what it comes down to is that at the end of any conversation is, I'm proud of you, you did a great job. You did your best. You know, that's the way that I was taught to. My parents were tough on me with sports because they were in it. And they were trying to teach me to be the best I could be. And so I always try to do it that way with sports. What is hardest for me is when it's non-sport related, you know, kid gets in trouble at school for being mean or something, trying to talk to them without being anger raged. And that took a lot of time. Matter of fact, you know, my son, we took him to get ADHD testing. And when that happened, obviously the folks that were helping us were teaching us how to interact with them. And then, you know, my wife especially dove down into how do we work through this as parents with a kid like this, because that's how I was. My son's a spitting image of me, but I was never diagnosed. So there were a lot of struggles that I went through with mainly academics that I don't want him to have to go through. So we're trying to get through that. But the biggest thing is sometimes just trying to just closing my eyes and taking a breath and not being angry about something that I shouldn't be angry about. Because then it kind of goes down to that, the mindset of I fucked up in a kid's mind. And so that's the hardest thing to do is to be able to do that.
This has been such an amazing discussion. I genuinely hope that all of you enjoyed it as much as I did. I just love men.
Oh, wow.
I really
Good to hear. Yeah.
I just do. I love.
Garrett's going to be happy to hear that.
He already knows
Went good.
when he has his cousins over. It takes everything in me not to just go and like plant myself in the middle of all of them, because I just love the energy. I love the banter. I love the brotherhood. I know, I'm not pretending to be a part of it. There's something about it that when men are all right, everything's all right in the world. It makes me feel secure. It comes back to mental health. When I know that men are in good relationship with one another and, you know, feel good and they have support. If something isn't good, it just, I don't know. It's a good vibe. So
I will say it's reciprocal too, because when I know my wife is like everything's going good, I feel safe in that space as well. Like we are good to go. Everything's going how it's supposed to. And, you know, we're doing what we need to do to be happy.
There's cool research on this. NASA has studied what kind of teams do best, and mixed gender teams do best when there's a mix of different people. And I think, the world needs all types of people. The world needs all types of backgrounds, and groups of people work best when there's like different stuff, Yeah. I think anyone who's been in a room of like two incredibly competitive men, you'll attest to like why that's not a good thing. We need a little diversity of like experiences.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've created good stuff today. As we sign off, just shout out what you got going on, where people can stay in touch with you. Russ, Paul, Ali.
Okay. My name is Russ. You guys can just show up at my apartment. We'll hang out and we'll talk about what we no, my website is. You get a free hat. I'll tell you what. You bring the food, I'll give you a hat. Now,
The tortilla chips.
No, I can't. I have to turn them down now. My website is ADHDBigBrother.com. My main thing that I'm doing right now is I'm building our community of adults with ADHD that are trying to move their needle forward and have a shame-free, judgment-free place to try and fail. And it's so far so great. It's awesome. And then, my podcast, ADHD Big Brother. Check it out.
Yeah, for me, if you like silly content and/or cooking content, you can find me at Paul Heels, PaulHeels. I like to post content that is fun to me. I don't care if I get clicks or likes, and I love negative comments because that's when I get to make more fun stuff. But you can find me on the social media. I have a podcast, Bass and Brews podcast. It's about fishing and outdoors, but it's not safe for work, and you don't have to care about fishing or outdoors to listen to it because we have a guest on, as co-host and myself. We have a guest on each time. It's really diving into the story of the person. The way that I tell folks when we're inviting them that don't know us is, imagine sitting around a campfire, shooting the shit with your friends. That's the podcast. And then I've got a new podcast that I'm a co-host on that's coming out hopefully here in a few weeks. It's the Meet Dad podcast. It's just 4 or 5 friends sitting around shooting the shit, talking about cooking and what's going on with that stuff. But yeah, I don't have anything professional like the other 2 guys to shout out. But if you want to just have a good time and look at some stupid stuff, you can go look at that.
Send you a cat video.
Yeah.
Send me all the kitty cat slide into them DMs with the cat videos. I would love every second of it.
That reminds me, Paul, of like, I think one of the main ways in which a lot of guys show their support to each other is they take pictures of their barbecue and then they text it to each other. They're like, guys, check out what I made. And then like, the guys will be like, dude, nice.
Yeah, that's medium rare, bro.
Yeah, that's sick. Like,
well, you're exactly right. There's a lot of folks that I have interactions with just from food stuff and, asking me stuff and me asking them stuff and just trying to get better at it. And I feel like that's something that when folks can prepare a meal for their family, because food is friendship. Going back to friends, food is friendship. When you have people over, what do you always have? Booze or food or both. And so the food thing is really something that does drive a lot of interaction and a lot of those friendships.
I love it. And Ali, what about you?
My website is braverwithanxiety.com, and I've got a free 7-lesson course on anxiety, and I actually just finished a 6-lesson course on stress to move from overwhelm to action. If you go to braverwithanxiety.com, you'll get that whole free course. It's great. Check it out. And on YouTube, I'm Dr. Ali. If you type that in, you'll find me, and we'll stay in touch.
That's perfect. And Jon wants to tell you to follow him on LinkedIn, Jon Patrick Hatcher. It's the most sarcastic content you'll ever find on LinkedIn, which is incredibly refreshing. He also has some other things, which I will link in the show notes. Thank you all again for this amazing and fun and incredible and insightful conversation. You all rock.
This is awesome. Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you liked the format of this episode, you'll also like the one about foot fetishes, which I recorded in a very similar way, episode 274. If you like the topic of mental health, try the mental health playlist on my YouTube channel. And stay tuned next week when I talk with a technologist and social media platform founder, asking the question, is giving up our privacy inevitable? Until then, keep it curious.